Caution, the following video may contain offensive content. Viewer discretion is advised, especially among children, family members, and future employers. Enjoy.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Dalton. I'm here with my buddy Josh. We've done a couple gaming videos together, so you might recognize him from that. This is the first time that he's shown his face on this channel, though.
I'm sorry.
This guy got me into Death Note back in like ninth grade. We watched the Netflix Death Note movie.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ, do we have a lot to say. So I really wanted him to be here so we could have this discussion about the movie. It's just going to be a mess, and of course, it should go without saying there's going to be spoilers for the movie, as well as the show. We're going to be talking about it all, so don't be a dumbass. If you haven't seen it, don't watch this.
When it comes to the characters and stuff, it would have been so much better if they'd made it like the original Death Note never happened, but this is just different characters that happen to get the Death Note.
They shouldn't have called him Light. They shouldn't have called him L. They shouldn't have called...
Was it Light Tucker or Light Turner?
Turner. It was Light Turner to make it American.
Yeah, it's very American for Turner, but we still got to keep Light. It would have been to their advantage to not put Light, in my opinion.
Right.
Because none of this sounds like the original Death Note other than L, Misa, or Mia, and Light.
Yeah.
But the movie didn't treat any of the characters like they should have been, especially not Mia, which was the best part of the movie, funny enough, in my opinion. You know, why not just have it as a different story?
Right.
Some kid named Jeff in Seattle gets it.
Yeah.
And instead of Mia, it's Jessica. You know, you're not making it sound better by using the characters, but then making the characters completely uncharacteristic.
Out the gate, it is a complete up of how he was in the anime, because he's smart, and they show that he's smart by people paying him to do their homework. His sense of right and wrong was so like, this is right, this is wrong, that he would have never have done that. Light in the show was really charismatic, and he was a genius, and basically you wanted to be Light, you wanted to be best friends with Light Yagami, because he had this charisma, girls were into him. But in the movie, Light Turner was this pushover nerd, and they show him doing homework for other people just to say, hey, he's smart. He didn't have the charisma that Light in the show had.
He's smart, and everybody likes him, and he has no reason to be hated at this point. As soon as you see the movie's Light, you're like, I hate this guy.
Yeah.
You don't even have to hear him talk. Just you see the way he looks, and you know that they're taking the movie in the wrong direction.
Right. He's such a pushover pussy.
He's not at all likable.
Yeah, there's no likable trait. And that's another thing. There was like no development for him. You see him sitting outside. he gets into a fight, basically. And like that's as much character development as you get. You said from the beginning, you could just tell.
Oh, I knew exactly what was happening.
She was a hot mess, for sure.
Like, as soon as she basically was brought up, I knew exactly what her character was. She basically would manipulate Light to continue because she just liked the fact that she was killing people.
Yeah, she was basically...
She loved that.
She was getting off on the violence.
Yeah, I said a lot of things like that during the movie.
Yeah, for sure. And
I'm not going to repeat.
Just to interrupt... Why?
Because I was saying that she wanted to fuck on their corpses. I'm not going to bring that up in the movie.
Another point, the fact that Light kills one person and then he's like, hey girl I have this notebook that kills people.
You should have at least made a really lame excuse for what that means. You could have been like, oh, I'm writing a book and I'm just, that's the title. And then she would have been like, I don't believe you. What is it really?
Yeah.
And then she could have been introduced.
Yeah, and that would have at least given him a reason to sort of fess up.
So he was like, let's watch the news so I can kill somebody and you can see it.
Right.
And then she was immediately like, this is the hottest thing I've ever seen a man do.
Yeah, she was like, she wanted it after that. She was more like Light than Light was like Light in the show.
I don't think there's any way anybody could disagree with that. She was the one that was like taking his justice thing serious. Let's kill them all.
Yeah.
You know, like murder or Holocaust type stuff. She would have killed everybody if she could. At first, she just talked to him because she wanted to talk about how that guy died in front of him and she wanted to hear about it. she would get really sexual whenever it came to killing people.
I think what they were going for was like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing. They were partners in crime, but in doing their crimes together, that strengthened their bond, and that made like their passions like even more powerful.
Well, that would make sense if the whole montage of deaths was to imply time. The thing was, it was like a montage that I guess was supposed to say that they like each other, but it just came off like she's like, if you want to get to the next base, you gotta kill 5 more people for me. I would say that for Light, it was romantic. For her, it really was. She was like, I like the fact that we can kill people and there's no way you can prove that I wrote this guy's name.
Yeah, she was.
I don't think she ever liked Light that much.
Yeah.
And as soon as he was like, this ain't working out with this killing stuff, maybe we should slow the killing down, she immediately is like, okay, I gotta get rid of Light. Yeah. Like, she's like, he is wasting my time. I'm all about the death here.
Yeah.
That's what made her a better character. The woman drops her groceries. The guy drops his ball. The ball goes into the street. A woman swerves. A truck swerves. And then they crash, and the ladder cuts the guy's head in half. I had a real problem with that when we were watching the movie. Like,
right.
I stopped.
Yeah, we
had to watch talk for like 15 minutes.
We talked for a long time just after that scene.
When it came to deaths being caused by other people, I felt like you weren't allowed to affect other people. It's like nobody got in a crash with somebody unrelated just so the main character that's in the Death Note dies.
Right.
So it's like multiple people are influenced to crash. But there are 2 parts in the manga and anime where that somebody crashes, but it's because the person who's going to die jumps into traffic.
I was making the argument that it's written in the Death Note, it happens. It's... you were making the argument that if there's an accident, it's because of the fault of the victim. That you are controlling their actions and they caused the accident that they are in, while in the movie it portrayed it as the world bends to the rules of the Death Note.
Yeah, the world would literally bend to make what happened happen, as long as it technically was possible.
I think that it would happen the same way in the manga.
That it was never brought to that
But
extent.
It was just never shown. I think it was also that Light early on in the anime found out he can control the victims if he writes the cause of death. Since he was writing the actions before their death, they run out into traffic, they get hit by a car, therefore the accident is their fault. But in this, the accident happens and it wasn't the fault of the victim. If you want to pinpoint it to the exact moment of where the accident happened, the Death Note made the bag of groceries rip. And then everybody else reacted to it, and in those reactions, it caused the ladder to decapitate Kenny. I think it's the same rules as it was in the anime as far as that, but I think what you were saying is it was never shown that way.
Yeah, I mean...
So the movie sort of showed it in a different way that maybe we saw in the show, in the manga.
Yeah, I think that's a conclusion we came up with last night, right?
Yeah. While we're talking about the Death Note and the rules, it seemed as if it was established that the default death was always accident.
I kind of like that myself.
It makes sense.
It would make him way harder to catch.
If that's the case, if everybody died from an accidental death, how could the police
ever
have tracked down and said, oh, there is a killer killing these criminals? Another thing that they kind of glossed over was the rise of Kira. Like, it was like a short montage of all these things happening, and then like they had the one like seance almost setting where Kira is set up in the candles.
It was more of a montage to show that Mia would have sex with him and he killed people.
But it was so short that it didn't give you the feeling that this was a global thing. The entire time, it felt like it was only localized to Seattle.
It felt like they had only been doing this maybe a week or 2.
Exactly. So there were a lot of things during the movie that you were saying to me, like, I hope they do this with Mia. I hope Mia does this. Because you thought it was going in one direction, and then the movie just f***s up and doesn't do what you said it was going to. And it would have been awesome if what you said would have happened.
They had so many parts where Mia could have been used way more effectively. When Mia and Light first got together, and it was very obvious that she was more into the killing than actually Light, by the way she manipulated him, I thought it was going to be like how in Psycho, the woman at the beginning of the movie who steals the money and goes to the motel is killed off very early, and then the movie is just everything after her. So it's like she really didn't matter as much. I thought it was going to be that Light didn't matter as much because she would just kill him to get the notebook and then just continue that without him.
Right, so that it introduces the concept of the notebook through Light, but then he isn't the main character because he's killed off by Mia. At least that's what you were hoping, or...
I was really hoping they would do that. I didn't think they would. I was really hoping it'd be like, oh, they're going to misdirect us. She's going to be like, he's not killing enough. That's all I'm here for. I kill Light, I get the notebook.
Yeah. But you know what?
If they had done that, it would have been a great movie.
Even better, I'm thinking. Instead of killing Light halfway through, killing Light, and then there's still like 20 minutes, and she's able to knock off his dad, L, and then the Kira status is even elevated even more. You know, she like fucking kills bankers and puts money in like safe deposit boxes, and she becomes rich and gets like a, you know, like if she...
They should have made it that the movie ends and she just wins.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Exactly.
The way they made Light the obvious hero of the movie made me think that they wouldn't kill him in this movie because they never let Mia take over. So I just was like, all right, I was wrong. That would have been great. It's not going to happen. And in the trailer, you see the Ferris wheel thing where she's fallen. I thought he was just going to let her go while she's holding the notebook, and then that would have just been to frame her, and then it was off the case. You know?
Right.
Because he says, like, we're in over our head at some point whenever L's like, you know, up his ass. I will drop her. I can look at her. I was hoping he would be like, looks like I win, and drops her. Kind of like, you know, some sort of like actual Light type thing from like the manga. But, you know, he's a real puss, so he didn't do that. Instead, they played that love music because, you know, like, nothing would have fit better. Like, silence would have been better than that.
I feel like it's one of those things that they have these 80s throwback tracks just because it's trending at the moment. It's sort of the popular thing to do in films, and I happen to be a fan of it if it's in the right movie.
I don't want synth in my Death Note.
There was some rock occasionally in the anime, but something that I thought they did really well with the music was when they played like the orchestral sort of like the Catholic choir music.
You mean for like the God complex?
Exactly. He was a god, so they were playing this like epic like church hymn music while he was writing names, and it made it more powerful for that reason. Now take the anime and just put like a bunch of synth wave over top of it. You know, it would have been shitty. We get that bullshit scene where Light is in detention or whatever, and then Ryuk rips the room apart, and probably the worst part of the fucking movie.
Oh man, that superly like convincing.
Yeah, the way he screams and acts like a little bitch is just insane. Like, because remember in the show, he's startled for a second, and
he knows what's coming.
Yeah,
he's not that afraid.
And that was another thing that Ryuk is basically telling Light, "Hey, why don't you use this notebook?" While in the anime, he had already written 5 pages worth of names, and Ryuk's like, "Oh damn, you've been busy."
And that brings into another thing where he purposely wanted Light to have it in this one. It's very obvious. And the reason you know he chose Light, you know, he showed him the guy outside, bullying that one girl, and it was like to his sensibility of, this is not right. And he's like, why don't you write his name, put accident. And then later on, when Ryuk's gone, and it's just Light in his room with the book, he reads, "Do not trust Ryuk. He is not your friend."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, there's going to be a really interesting, like, at least part of the plot is going to be about how Ryuk is kind of a dick.
And you even said, you know, they built...
That would be an amazing plot.
Yeah, they built this plot, this plot point that Light's mom was killed by a mobster or something.
Yeah.
And he said, he was like, oh, Ryuk killed his mom. That's going to be the thing.
It's almost as if this movie had 2 or 3 different plot ideas, and then they just
scrapped
threw them away.
Yeah.
And they just kept that because it's like, well, we already got the thing. We can just be like, nobody cares.
People are going to watch it. Who fucking cares?
Yeah. I had actually said that I thought that his mom was killed by Ryuk as soon as I knew that Ryuk had picked Light on purpose. And then I saw the Ryuk is not your friend. I'm like, I called it, dude. And then they don't do anything with it.
Yeah, and then here's a big flaw that we were both talking about.
Oh, this is the best.
It's when the FBI guys get killed.
Nobody is fooled.
Oh, she runs upstairs and then she leaves. Gee, what'd she do? We're not fucking stupid. We know that she either took the notebook or took a page out of it. Anyway, Light comes in and he's pissed off at Ryuk. Ryuk's eating apples and fucking tossing them all over the floor like an ass.
He's, for some reason, he assumes Ryuk. Why would Ryuk do that?
And then he says, I'll write your name in the notebook if you don't cooperate. And he's like,
closest anybody's ever got is 2 letters. And in the death note it says, Ryuk is not your friend.
So it's like, Ryuk, what the f*** are you talking about?
Ryuk even replies to Light, and then
the name's Ryuk.
The name's Ryuk. It's like
what the f***? It doesn't add up.
Also, why would Ryuk leave the page in there that says "Don't trust me"?
Exactly.
I never even thought of that till now. Ryuk, did you kill those FBI agents? And he's like, might have.
There were a lot of things that were just to misguide the audience, and they led nowhere. Ryuk was the mischief maker in this. He was the one causing the accidents, while in the anime, it was purely the Death Note.
This movie implied that Ryuk, as the god of death, who gave a human the book, causes what is written in the book to happen.
Exactly. Ryuk was the Grim Reaper in this.
He's death in the Final Destination scenes. They make it really obvious where he's like,
yeah, with
the Ferris wheel f***ing crumbles.
And remember Watari? I can't
Watari.
I can't f***ing say it. Watari.
Yeah.
When Watari is at
2600.
When Watari is at Whammy House, and remember he's like peeking through the window. He's the Grim Reaper, which he wasn't, because in the anime he's just doing this pretty much. He's just watching Light do his thing.
He's there for entertainment, and this one he's in there for entertainment, but he also has to do the deaths. I don't know. I feel like if I was being entertained, if I'm still doing the work, that's kind of boring.
The way I heard about this movie was I saw a headline somewhere, Willem Dafoe to play Ryuk in Netflix Death Note movie. And when I heard that, I'm like, I'm f***ing game. Willem Dafoe is Ryuk.
One of my favorite actors.
I got chills. I was like, this is going to be incredible. But he was incredibly underused in this movie. And he wasn't really Ryuk.
I think the only reason he's in the movie was just because you hear Willem Dafoe and you're like, I might not even know what the Death Note is, but Willem Dafoe is cool.
He was one of the characters that was more true to the anime than anybody else.
He was more true than Ryuk or Light or Mia.
He had the mannerisms, but he also had a couple new quirks.
Which were, he was more emotional.
Yeah, which in the anime, he wasn't emotional at all.
That played to the movie's strength. It wouldn't have made sense to have him just rational, because if he was just rational, he would have taken care of Light immediately.
Here's something we forgot to mention. The fact that he basically shows up and says, Light, you are Kira. He had the most circumstantial bullshit evidence to pin Light as Kira, while in the anime, it was like L had several opportunities to just say, I know you're Kira, but he had to be 100% sure. L in the movie just wasn't. He was more motivated by emotion than intellect, which is a damn shame.
It doesn't fit L's original character. If this had been just another Whammy House prodigy character, I would have been like, all right, well, this one's very emotional. The first time you see him, they got him next to a Rubik's Cube, which is just being like, he's smart, guys.
It's a very stereotypical oh, he's a smart guy, there's his Rubik's Cube.
And to make it worse is he pulls out his watch and he's a Mason.
Yeah, there was the Mason and the Illuminati
in the Whammy House,
where Watari opened up some sort of vault or something, and there was something on the ceiling.
That's what I'm saying. It was like a pane glass or something.
Yeah, so
like a church glass, I think.
Right.
Whatever you call those.
So, it was what was the purpose of introducing the Masonry images and the Illuminati stuff?
Oh, Watari also had an Illuminati thing on his chest. You don't see the full thing, and I was like, well, they did the Masons. I know that's the Illuminati. Basically saying that the Illuminati and the Masons have this organization where they make these genius prodigies. Prodigies. And,
Prodigy.
It.
I don't know the name of the actor who plays L, but one thing you can say is that he did a pretty good job.
I think he was much better than Light in every aspect. If we just consider this as if the other Death Note didn't happen.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the thing. And that was another thing. Like, he was there at the crime scene. Bullshit. Like, that wouldn't have happened. He was more emotional than L should have been, but I think the actor did an awesome job of displaying those emotions, if that makes sense. Even though it wasn't a good portrayal of L, so to speak, the actor did a good job in the role in this universe of Death Note, if that makes sense. One of my biggest complaints about this is that it didn't have the intellectual cat and mouse that the anime had. That's why I fell in love with the manga, because it was like an extreme chess game where everybody was like 15 steps ahead of the other in one way or another. And in this, everything was so motivated by emotions. We are gonna rule the world. We're gonna kill these bad guys. We love each other. It was all emotion and raw. And L was too motivated by emotions rather than intellect. And there was no cat and mouse.
Remember whenever L and Light were sitting in that cafe, he was like scared looking. Like he was like shaking with emotion. He was kind of afraid.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, you would be nervous as hell if you actually, like a normal person.
How does he kill? Does he, if he looks right at me, can he just kill me with his vision?
He rips his hood down and stuff. Watari was British, not Japanese, yet he's Japanese in this.
His name was not really Watari in the original. But in this one, they're like, that's his name, so we can use him.
His name's Watari, he's Japanese, boom.
No, so his name can be written down, so there could be that plot where he is going to die, but then Light was like, I'm going to burn the page. And then Mia was like, actually, you can't, because I wrote it down or stole the page.
Oh, yeah, only one page could be burned? Wasn't that part of the rule, too?
I think it had one per person.
But that also leads to the fact, did L order Watari to get killed? Was that what was going on in that scene?
I told you that was probably what was going to happen, but I don't think it was intentional. Like, the world was willed that those people will kill him because it was written down. Even if he wasn't meant to be killed by L, since he brought them there, they would have no choice but to kill him. They had to shoot him because the world was willed to do that. Like the Final Destination stuff I brought up earlier.
Okay. Like the ripping out of the page and burning it, that was bullshit too. That wasn't ever.
They added that. I didn't like that. I knew it was going to be used or they wouldn't have changed.
And wasn't it something that was like halfway through the movie? Oh, by the way, here's this rule. Film writing 101. If there's going to be a gun used in the third act, make sure it's in the first act.
Yeah, another way is, if rules are being disregarded, that's okay. You can't add rules, or the informed audience knows it means that is important for this plot.
Like, if he would have glossed over that rule or something, like, and just asked Ryuk about it in the beginning, like...
Yeah, like, he just read that as if it wasn't important.
Yeah.
That would have been great. That would have been the gun in the first act.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you do it. That's how you write a script.
The ending scene where Mia falls and that paper hovers into the fire. That was really dumb.
So Light controlled Mia in her final moments of dropping the paper. And the paper was able to catch a gust of wind and float around very elegantly into a trash bin.
The death of the person is the end of the Death Notes thing. Like, it dies by falling and crashing on the pier. Yeah. Also, the paper she holds happens to fly into fire very far away.
I guess...
I feel like that's the one that's, like, worse than the original complaint I had. Because this would require the book to be like, alright, by the way, is there anything you want to magically happen with something involving the person? You want to make the world bend to where the paper does that after she's dead?
Well, I guess the big thing would be to watch the scene again and see if the page lands in the trash can before she hits the ground.
She's dead. It's after.
She was dead.
Unless she was alive, but like in pain or something. But that's just being cheap. In a movie sense.
I mean, it's definitely a fucking stretch.
If Light is able to make the Death Note cause things like that to happen, that is way more important than the fact that it can kill people.
That's true.
He literally would be like a god.
The Death Note has like this sort of butterfly effect, more so than it did in the manga and the show. It's almost like I could say that, I don't know, you die of something stupid. You sneeze too hard. Okay.
And when you sneeze, you land on your keyboard log into your bank account and transfer all the money you have in the bank to me. I mean, that is stupid, but that's not nearly as stupid as the fact that a paper that is dropped flows to the fire, because that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You having a little seizure on your keyboard giving me all your money makes more sense than the fire.
Of course, there's the part where the dad comes in. He's like, I knew it was you. He's basically like, the way I talked, and eventually I realized that a clipping of the guy that killed your mother. Yeah. The ending has Light explaining everything he did, and it shows the flashback of him looking at the computer, and he's like, this child molester does this, blah, 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 blah. He rewrites the names in the death note for so many days, and then this child molester does this. They acted like that was the big, like, oh, here's the big intellectual chess game happening right here, when it's not even half as clever as the beginning of the anime.
It's not clever at all, really.
Yeah.
The fact that he can will the world to put a piece of paper into a fire, he could have been, Mia dies, and then her boyfriend is saved by some guy who keeps killing people for 2 days and then drops the book. As long as that guy don't die, then it's not breaking the rules. The Death Note is way more effective as getting what you want rather than killing people.
But, see, that's how it's enacted in the movie. I think what you're thinking is that it has more power than it does.
It does.
But that's at the fault of the writers.
The movie just lets it do way more than it used to.
Yeah, the movie
and
makes
you said
it
before,
more powerful.
It was never explained if it could do that. There was no restriction on what was impossible. A shark can't go up a toilet and kill you.
They said
that's
that.
impossible. But
at the same time,
the world bends so easily.
There was a lot of impossible things happening.
It really makes you wonder, what is the spectrum that it determines this is too far.
Let's say I hadn't known about Death Note. I've never watched it, never read the manga.
How you would have felt? That's something interesting.
I would have thought this movie was pretty good. I would have given it like a 6, 6.5.
I was thinking 6.
Something like that. As a fan of Death Note, 3 or 4, if that. But at the same time, as I was thinking about what I would say in this review, I kept thinking about the movie and thinking, I want to watch that again. But I know that like it's going to be one of those things like, man, I'm really in the mood to watch that Netflix Death Note movie.
Is that you want to watch it because you're like, it's kind of growing on me, or it's like, I want to tear it apart a little bit more and see what else is broken?
I think it's a combination of both, as weird as that is.
No, that's legit. For me, I watch it 3 different ways. One, as a fan, I don't like it. I think they ruined it.
Right.
As a person who's just watching it, I enjoyed it for the spectacle, even though it was a dumb movie. Not at all highbrow or intelligent.
Right.
And then the last one is, I want to think of how I could make this better. And you know I was doing that the whole time.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part. That's why I enjoyed it.
He was giving me his theories, and like, he was like, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen. And then he was so disappointed when none of it happened.
Yeah, because they were doing it in such a perfect way, and they just ruined it.
Way back when, I bought this one. It's the Japanese film adaptation. This is a more accurate representation of the anime, but it was also
terrible. It was a terrible movie, but at least they had the decency to put the chip scene in.
I think the Death Note Netflix movie is going to be like this one, that originally I thought it was pretty god-awful. It's like a guilty pleasure kind of thing. I'll put it in as I fall asleep.
This is terrible. This could have been better.
Hey guys, I just took Josh home and I figured this would happen. As I was taking him home, I remembered something else I wanted to say about the movie. I was telling Josh that I think I know an actor who could actually portray Light really accurately, and that is Dane DeHaan. He was Harry Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. He was in that movie A Cure for Wellness, and most recently that Valerian City of a Thousand Planets movie that didn't do so well. Tell me your thoughts on some of the theories we talked about in this video. I have plenty more videos coming out, including some more fan art reactions, so please stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button if you aren't subscribed already. I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.